Hi, everyone. Welcome one and all. I'm Ann Brum,
And I'm Steve Mandile.
and welcome to a joint venture and co-show. We're live here on the Pro Cannabis Media platform, and we are thrilled that you are joining us this evening or on the replay anywhere at any time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're looking to have conversations with people at the intersection of functional medicine and communities who learn from people's wellness journeys, including veterans who are looking for alternatives not yet available in the VA healthcare system.
So this joint venture and co-show is produced live on the first Wednesday of every month from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope that you all can join and help us spread the good word about the intention behind the show. Our show welcomes guests who are established in the understanding of cannabis, and each week we conduct a deeper dive into a specific topic surrounding plant medicine and wellness. So you're going to find lots of different resources, information, stigma-free support, and not in addition to veterans, but also for their families and the general public at large, because all of us are here to serve you and help you find a better way to feel better. The show is produced, again, live here. So feel free to comment, ask any questions, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or Roku TV. Feel free to connect with us there. We are watching that.
And the joint venture co-show welcomes guests who have a established understanding of cannabis and also
we just said that, Stephen.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, see,
I messed that up. Sorry, guys.
No, but our guests, and we're gonna have some incredible guests lined up, offering people all sorts of advice and insight into all these different healing methods that many are don't know about or looking to learn more about. And should we get right into our introductions of ourselves here?
Let's do it. Let's give them a little bit of the story behind the show and why it's important for everyone to care, to share.
Yeah, so myself and Ann, we have experiences in cannabis and wellness with a combined 15 years of doing this. I've been focusing a lot of my time since the start of my recovery on advocacy, government, and also public affairs, and been doing that by engaging with the communities and also with legislators and policy makers, the ones that can make these changes that will help the most people. So that's a little bit about me.
And Stephen's also a son, a brother, a father, a husband, and a dog father, and a solid human being. And I'm so thankful to have you both as a colleague and as a friend. So kudos to you choosing to live and choosing to make different choices so that you can be here tonight and we can explore this conversation even deeper. Also, Stephen has been a huge support in providing access and choice to cannabis for people of Massachusetts. And he's got a long story. I'm sure we will share that over time.
Yes.
Going to the State House, advocating, speaking with legislators, and then even a couple of weeks ago, communicating with members of Congress with another initiative he works on in advocating for different care, better care for veterans in general. So thank you for all that you do, for sure.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. Like you said, we'll get into it more in the future, but to go from, trying to an attempted suicide to, stand on the side of the State House with a picket sign and sleeping out in the Boston Common for a week, to being invited to then talk to members of Congress in DC. I pinch myself sometimes thinking, how the heck did I end up here doing this? But just grateful for every opportunity, and really have found a lot of therapeutic healing myself through advocating and trying to help other people. So it's been, so impactful in my life, my family's life, and being able to meet people like you, Ann. It's just been an incredible journey that I every day I wake up looking forward to doing more, which is a huge change from where I had been, as little as 5 or 6 years ago.
Right. I'm so psyched. Well, I'm happy that we came up with this concept, and I'm thankful that Jimmy Young and the team at Pro Cannabis Media was here to help us out and be like, yeah, let's try to make this happen and provide a platform to talk about wellness, about plant medicine, and also veterans. So thank you very much, and shout out to them.
Yeah, you and I have also been on many different shows on the Pro Cannabis Media before doing our own show. We've been on together, we've been on separately. Pro Cannabis Media is just one of the leaders in putting all kinds of information out there for people, and just having such a wide capture of audience. One of the reasons we chose Jimmy Young and PCM is due to their wide scope of what they offer and just being everywhere. So it's awesome to be joining this team, and looking forward to making this to Pro Cannabis Media, one of the best outlets out there for cannabis resources and education.
Heck yeah.
And entertainment. Okay, we're going to entertain you.
Edutainment, as we like to say. Get medicated and educated in whatever way that you want to responsibly relax. And so Stephen and I have been working together now for the last few years. Our paths have intertwined in many forms here in the state of Massachusetts. And my story is a little obviously different, but my family are immigrants from the Azorian Islands, or as in Portuguese we say Azores, and traditional medicine was our standard of feeling better. So cups of hot garlic tea, and just like these old kind of folk medicine that's been passed down from generations where they did not have access to conventional healthcare. So I just right off the bat, health and wellness from a natural method has been something I grew up on. And my father passed away in 2002 from gastric carcinoma, and seeing him, his life be cut short and also struggle and suffer led me on a path of identifying what it meant for me to feel well, what it meant for me to be healthy and happy. And it led me on from 18 years old up until this moment. I can't believe it's been a couple decades deep, and really exploring everything from mind, body, and spirit, and including from preventative care to end of life care, and providing comfort and education and resources so that we can truly help reduce the suffering. Right. My experience in cannabis is about 6-7 years strong. And prior to that was in hospice. And then prior to that, as an entrepreneur in a spiritual practice on the South Shore, shout out to my former business partner, Kelly. So when it comes to merging this like health and wellness and integrating plant medicine, it was a no-brainer. And I'm not shy of stigma. A lot of folks did not know about end of life care and hospice care, so we did a lot of educating around that. And I'm really, really, really thankful to be here and know what I know and be able to share and be able to learn and grow from the guests that we're going to be having on, and hopefully from the comments and everything and any questions from all of you. Really excited to evolve and get better together. So there's our tagline, Stephen: get better together.
And it's pretty wild. You mentioned like hot garlic tea and these plants that were used for centuries in helping people with their ailments. And only, in the most recent, probably 100 years or so, the evolution of Western medicine and pharmaceuticals has changed all that, in some cases for the better. But it's important that we don't lose, those roots when we're talking about plant medicine that can also be, which has a place. When we're not throwing stigma on any of the opioids or anything else out there like that, there are places like that. We want to make sure that there's stigma-free space for any type of modality that you're using for healing.
Yep, for sure.
Yep.
So before we get into it, we're just asking anyone if you're finding value or you think anyone that's coming to mind that could benefit from our conversation on our show about wellness and cannabis in the veteran communities, please consider to like, share, and comment anywhere you're watching and or listening from, and whether it's live or afterwards, we appreciate it. So thank you for that, Stephen. I'm excited that we can start maybe bringing in our guest, our first, very first guest.
I'm excited to bring in our very first guest. Today we're speaking with Stanley Atkins II. We're discussing wellness and veteran care, and we're getting some good insight from him being down in the good old state of Georgia.
Hotlanta,
yep. Stanley is a U.S. Navy veteran, a cannabis advocate, a father, family man, a trained medic, entrepreneur, and also pushing legislative change for access to cannabis in Georgia as well as in DC. So let's welcome Stanley on and have Stanley tell us more about himself.
Come on, Stanley, come on down. By the way, Stanley's been at it for a while too, down in Georgia and nationwide.
Yes. Here we go. There he is. How's it going?
There's the one and only. Stanley, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Great. Happy to have you. Excited to have you, Stanley.
Likewise.
I like your little pin.
Oh, thank you.
Repping the plant. Well, Stephen gave a little intro of you, but I know he's got a little more to say. But I think we're going to ask you to kind of, there's our intro, but we'd love to hear a little bit from your perspective of your story.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be on here. I love my Massachusetts people. I tell everyone Massachusetts is my favorite cannabis market because it's the energy that you get from the people. My name is Stanley Atkins II, and thank you guys for having me on. I'm a United States Navy veteran. I proudly served on 2 deployments in the Persian Gulf. One was aboard the USS John F. Kennedy, and my second one was an HS-11 helicopter squadron. I came home from the military in 2006, and in 2007, I went on to become a Clayton County firefighter. I spent 7.5 years as a firefighter paramedic before my career was unfortunately cut short due to physical illness. But what that did was it took me out of my profession and really pushed me into my passion. And I found out that cannabis was my passion. So throughout my journey in this industry, the number one thing that I like to stay big on is education, and information. And I feel that the more education we have, the more successful all of our medical programs will be, because we can have all the medicine, we can have all the dispensaries you want. But if the patients aren't properly educated, products will just sit there. So the CanniMedic is here, and I look forward to it.
I love that.
That's great.
And we know, like, when it comes to patients and or people, that it very much all relates to policy. We would not have access without it starting with policy and legislators being educated and informed about what it means to have the access and choice to this particular plant medicine that's a Schedule A substance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I know for me personally, Stanley, when I started off advocating, especially legislatively and at the State House, it was daunting. I felt like I don't belong here. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's really important that people know that we all have that ability. And if you to take that fear and say, let's go, you're coming with me, we're going to do it, even if we're doing it afraid. That's what it takes, and I'm sure you had some of that same feelings down the State House down there. So, we're doing things that everyone can do. I'm right.
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I went down to the Capitol, it was actually with a parent who was a caretaker for a child that has mitochondrial disease. It's very rare genetic disorder. And she was like, Stanley, I want to go down to the Capitol. We need to fight for cannabis. She said, I'm afraid to go by myself. She goes, I'm not in like the little cliques of the groups of people who go down to the Capitol. She said, but I need somebody to come. Will you just come with me? I did. We met at the front doors, and it was arguably one of my greatest experiences at the Capitol. Just so happened that day, there were several different groups advocating on behalf of cannabis, and a lot of legislators were actually in the halls, talking with citizens and supporters. So my first trip, I met one of the early proponents for medical cannabis. He introduced me to the next legislator. He's like, Stanley, let me introduce you to this person. And it really just showed me that if you get in the building and you're willing to put in the work, you can get the results.
Right. So let's jump right into some of the things, that the veteran communities that we're facing. Many veterans now won't discuss cannabis with their VA healthcare, PCP, or register as a patient in their state's medical cannabis program. Some concerns, including losing VA benefits, jeopardizing employment, and really just the privacy you get with other medications that you can have. For those that want to try and see if cannabis is for them, often decide to go adult use dispensaries or grow their own, and those are great options. But what are some, top 3 tips, we'll say, or recommendations that you can give those veterans that may be, apprehensive?
The first I would say is to educate yourself on what is legal in your state. Right. We don't want to advise anyone to break any laws. So first of all, look and see if your state has a medical cannabis program or even an adult use program. If they do, look up what are the qualifying conditions for the medical program. Do I qualify? Next would be to ask your physician, the primary physician, if they are writing recommendations for that patient to potentially obtain a card. Now, if that patient's primary care physician is within the VA healthcare system, they are going to have to find an outside clinician or care provider to write them that recommendation. But I think it starts with being confident to even broach the subject. And I feel that as veterans, it is up to us to talk about what no one wants to talk about now. It's still taboo to a lot of transitioning service members. So a lot of them don't even want to broach the subject. But for us veterans and people who may be retired, it is imperative that we prevent some of our brothers and sisters from going through some of the pitfalls that we went through in trying to obtain this natural medication.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like you're saying, it's all about leaving a path for the people behind you, and making sure you're knocking down those barriers on the way, and not just saying, well, I didn't have to do that, or it worked out for me. It's looking out for the people that can follow you. And like you're saying, our community, the veteran community, has just been, decades now, at least 2 decades now, of overdose deaths and, the suicide crisis, which, I mean, it's hard to keep track of. Is it 22? Is it 20? Is it even more? Because not every state's reporting. We just know that it's too many, it's too many every day. And a simple adjustment in policy, which would allow veterans to pursue cannabis through the VA, could be what changes everything. A lot of the problems with the VA is, the way I see it is, it's not individualized enough. So they're trying to jam that square peg into the round hole. Yes. And if the square peg don't fit, the square peg's the problem. And that's it doesn't help anybody. So just having another choice to have cannabis as an option, it just makes the most sense. Other countries are doing it. Our neighbors to the north, veterans enrolled in the VA Canada, not only get to talk to their doctors and have their doctors do the recommendations, but then they also reimburse veterans for up to 3 grams a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
While they can't provide it through the VA yet, they reimburse you when you go outside of the VA, which I think is great, which I would also then love to see, veteran-owned businesses that veterans can go to and get that. So there's just so many benefits to having cannabis available to veterans, and have it in every state, and not have our brothers and sisters in states where it's still not legalized to just get shut off, or have to then make the decision to heal illegally.
Yeah.
We're just hearing, we both know so many stories. You've been here to talk at the Boston Freedom Rally, and I know you've been here too when I think Colton Turner was here
Yes.
from Illinois. Yeah, and that's an amazing story of a kid and his family having to heal illegally. It's just so sad. So we need to stay on top of this and make this change for veterans and non-veterans across the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was going to say, in some websites that the audience that's tuning in can go to see if medical or adult use or even hemp-derived products, those sort of laws are state by state, would be normal, NORML.org, or Marijuana Policy Project, where they'll, I believe normal will go in state by state. So you just click on it, it lists the laws as well. So possession, home cultivation. So look into that, take the time, read it out loud, take it in, be informed, know your rights, and know where to gain access.
Right. And Stanley, are there some organizations that you would like to highlight for that as well?
Really, those are the key ones when it comes to actual the quality, concise information that's already readily available. They're the most up to date that I've found from doing my research. Also, look into DPA, which is Drug Policy Alliance. They have a lot of great information. They actually host the world's largest drug reform conference. I became aware of them because they held their international conference, I think it was 2017, here in Atlanta. And it was through Peachtree Normal that we were able to obtain tickets. The regular tickets were about like $300 or $400. I think we got tickets for $14. So if you wanted to attend and you were part of an advocacy group, because it's very imperative, because as you stated, that veterans need access to this, but a lot of time they don't even know there is access to this. Many of them have been gone for 4, 6, 8, 10 years back and forth. They don't even know, they haven't seen tinctures or topicals. And we have to understand that part of the education is acknowledging to veterans, patients, families, and caregivers that there's more than one way to consume. Now, many people say, well, I just did 20 years in the military. I don't want to get out and start smoking anything. I've never smoked. I like to run. We need to let those patients know that there is treatments that can be curtailed to your specific conditions. If you're a patient that says, hey, I have a knee injury, a back injury, those patients may need transdermal patches or topical analgesics. So there's a whole conundrum of education that we really must take a more serious approach at if we really want to see more veterans in registered programs.
Right.
And hopefully we'll get some clarity on the Second Amendment rights. I think that also for many veterans and members of the general public, that this is one of the things that's stopping them from the regulated market. So I also want to say that for those who are wanting to learn more about the process of your cannabis experience, and say you have a certain condition or you're on certain medication, there are risks and benefits involved with consuming cannabis. And I know we're heavy on the cannabis talk. We are going to integrate wellness from a mind, body, spirit perspective, but there is an organization called Leaf 411, and it's a 24-hour nurse hotline. So for individuals who are interested in learning more and having some medical advice from a licensed healthcare professional, please let everyone know that. And if you know a veteran within the veteran community, we too are allies to help inform and educate and create these pathways for people to consider natural forms of taking care of ourselves and being healthy and happy.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Sweet. All right, cool. Well, I want to just take a quick moment right now and let everyone know, if you are an organization or a company or initiative that shares the same values and mission of the A Joint Venture and Co show, please give us a shout out at team@jointvco. We would love jointvco.com. We would love to hear from you and talk to you about how we can line up those shared vision and bring this to fruition in a bigger capacity, and be able to compensate our wonderful guests and throw some shine on the work that they're doing as well. So I just want to say we'll have a nice highlight for you, but reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk about what that would look like. And Stephen and Stanley, can you please quickly let everyone know before we get into our quick break here, how folks can find out about you and your work?
Yes, you can find me on most social media platforms. The tagline is at the CanniMedic. That is TheCannimedic. There's business pages set up as well for the CanniMedic and the Stanley Group. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, most media platforms. If you need my direct email, it is director@cannamedic.org. And that is CANNIMEDIC.org.
Excellent. And I know you're up in Georgia, and it's a whole different world down there in many ways when it comes to the community's relationship with the plant on so many levels, but also in wellness in general, and integrating, practices that I think communities have maybe forgotten about, and just returning back to that. And I know you're also in Nevada and doing some work up there, so I'm really excited to kind of get into a little bit of your physical fitness post being in the service and what you're doing to help yourself and your community. And is it not Taekwondo?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
There you go.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes.
Close.
Yes.
Different continents.
Yes.
Big difference, though, I'm sure.
Yeah. So one thing that I like to tie into veterans and non-veterans alike is that please don't see cannabis as the end-all be-all for your healthcare. A lot of companies, a lot of brands, a lot of owners, they promote products and things that, hey, if you try this product, all of your healthcare will be better. Your pain, your PTSD, or any depression, just take this elixir or take this tincture or smoke this pre-roll. And what I want to correlate to anyone who may be watching this is that cannabis is not a definitive answer for your healthcare, but it may be a strong option in your toolbox for your treatment therapies. So let's just take case in point. I have multiple knee injuries, foot injuries, back injuries, broken shoulder, and hand. And for me to say, hey, well, just taking cannabis allowed me to go from being bedridden to actively fighting. And that would not be true, because it takes one, your mind, your body, and your spirit. And what I mean by that is, even if your body is feeling well, if you're in a bad mental space, that also holds you back from your growth, it holds you back from your improvements. But also in tying in the food, the wellness, your well-being, water, sunlight, sleep. A lot of times we don't really understand how important sleep is. I do have trouble sleeping, but sleep is a vital key, because if we say it's a patient who's consuming RSO or FICO, which is full extract cannabis oil for cancer, and the patient consumes their FICO and then drinks a Red Bull or drinks some coffee to stay awake, what they're typically doing is being counterproductive with the treatments that they're trying to produce. So what you want to think is the medicine is actually attacking the cells, is actually promoting cell growth and regeneration, but it's hard for the body to do that when you're awake all the time. So a lot of these medications, they have their most efficacy and their most absorbency during your sleep. That is why people who take some of the supplements, maybe it's CBD or full spectrum, or even who smoke, they realize I went to sleep fast, but when I woke up, it was more of a refreshing. I woke up energized versus I woke up feeling tired or lethargic. So if you got the products and you combine that with the diet, you combine that with a positive mindset, and that is how you tie all those into exercising. For me, it was a slow process. I had to start out with yoga. That was the most, and it was very light yoga. I wasn't doing all.
Stephen, I'm trying to get you on the yoga with me.
Yeah, I couldn't do all the cool poses, but my yoga instructor, she noticed that due to my knee injuries and me wearing knee braces for so long, my knees were trembling. And I was like, I think I need to tighten my knee braces up. And she said, no, you need to stop wearing knee braces. She said, you're actually limiting what your muscles can do. What we have to do is strengthen the muscles around the ligaments that support your knee. And after months and months, I haven't worn knee braces. I wear them now as needed, usually if I jog or something. But now the cannabis, the mental mindset, the mindfulness, the yoga, the food, the diet, the exercise, and the rest, it all played full circle into a full wraparound service of healthcare.
Right. Super. It's huge to keep pushing that narrative. That it's not just like when I was on the other medications. It was never just about just these medications doing it. It's medication assisted treatment. Let other people, we're now calling this PAT, plant assisted treatment. It's, it's whole health, and it's all the pieces come together. It's not one thing, one medicine or one therapy that you go into. It's everything combined, including your ability to enjoy life, employment, all of that kind of stuff. It's whole health, and like I'm glad you said that, because it's important that we push that. While a lot of us benefit from cannabis, it does still come with risks, and for many people, it could be a very bad experience for them. So I'm glad you touched on that.
For any clinicians or any medical personnel who may be watching, or someone that has a loved one in that field, what we're alluding to is what we call a polypharmacy approach. It's a more than one, because one patient may have a cardiologist, he may have a neurologist, he may have his mental health doctor, his gastrointestinal physician. And if each one has him on a medication and the patient says, well, I found me some cannabis, I'm not taking anything, as Stephen alluded to, that could have negative outcome from just supplementing those medications. So we want to make sure that we're collaborating and coordinating with our care teams, because you have patients that are on tricyclic antidepressants and other medications that may not balance well with some of these, giving their underlying diagnosis. So we want to make sure that we're doing this safely.
Right. And you could find out, like myself, I'm actually allergic to it. Like you can have an allergy to cannabis. It's a plant. But for me, I would still rather deal with the side effects of those allergies than the side effect of some of the other medications, which could impair me even worse. So it's a judgment call for the patient, but that's with every medicine that you take. If a doctor tells you to take it, you don't necessarily have to. It's still your choice to do that. But if they're doing that, follow the rules, follow the dosing that's said, and follow that treatment plan.
Yeah, give it a go.
Yep.
Give it a try. And it's not just conventional doctors. There's natural naturopath doctors. There's functional medicine doctors. Some of them do take insurance, but expand. But most importantly is like taking your power back and engaging in that self-care and identifying what that means for you. It just makes you happier, makes everyone else around you happier. You're good to yourself, good in your relationships, good to your animals, good to the planet. It's just good all around. Like, take care of yourself. So, right. And that's what it's all about. I think having worked in end of life care, it really ends up, your wealth is definitely in your health and in mind, body, and soul. So I'm happy that we're kind of bringing that all together, but I think we're going to take a quick break. And Dan's going to go ahead and give you a little commercial. So we'll be right back after that.
Hello, and thank you again for tuning into the Joint Venture & Co. show. We would like to remind everyone that they are not alone, and there are resources available for you or someone you know who is in crisis. Below are both the Veteran Crisis Hotline number and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Jot them down, take a screenshot, and share it with your friends. It's confidential, available 24/7, and can connect you with people who care and want to help you get through these tough times. You matter, and please never give up. Thanks for coming back with us. I just really want to take this moment to really dry home the point on being there for suicide prevention. If you are a veteran crisis or concerned about one, you can connect with the Veteran Crisis Line to reach caring, qualified responders with the Department of Veterans Affairs, many of them veterans themselves. It's free, confidential, available 24/7, and serves all veterans, all service members, even their families and their friends. You can call at 1-800-273-8255 and press 1, or you can text 838-255, or you can chat online and go to www.veteranscrisisline.net. That is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. And that lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support to all people. And that number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, just so important that we're talking about this now, and making sure people know that they matter. There are people that care about you. There are people that can help you. Just please don't quit. Please pick up the phone and call those numbers, or call a loved one when you're feeling a crisis. We're here for you. We do not want you to quit. We don't want you to give up. And we're here to help you get better.
There are resources. Thank you, Stephen, for sharing that. Thank you all again for joining us this evening. If you're just tuning in, we are sitting down with Stanley Atkins II of the CanniMedic, as well as the Stanley Group. And the Stanley Group?
Yes.
I love that logo there, by the way. And we're here to discuss this kind of intersection of wellness, cannabis, and the veteran communities, and how we can integrate these holistic approaches so that it adds to this positive experience of this thing called life. So before we hop into our conversation, I'd like to briefly share an event that's coming up as part of our community engagement. And for those who don't know, Joint Venture has been supporting a nonprofit out of New York City. We've been working together on a collective project called Careers with a 501c3 called Women of Color in Cannabis. You can find out more about them at wocc.world. Again, that's wocc.world, and click on Careers. It's absolutely free for especially to help position women in the BIPOC community and the LGBTQ community to feel informed, feel prepared, to enter into the workforce in the cannabis industry. And it's inclusive of module series. That's the first Saturday of every month. It's also inclusive of office hours where you can submit a resume. And that is then led by the founder of THC Staffing, Danielle, and a colleague of hers to help with preparing your resume. And soon we're going to be launching a vetted job board. So we're putting those companies to accountability and making sure they check off some boxes to really create these safe space. So I just want to say shout out to the Women of Color in Cannabis, the board there, as well as Ashley Boucher of Quality Control Analytics here as part of Careers. And again, Danielle of THC Staffing, and a shout out to Sammy of SLN Business Consulting. Collectively, we're able to do this and bring these resources to women in the BIPOC community. So as we say, muito obrigada. Thank you so much for supporting that. So, and you can always find out more on joinvco.com or on our socials as well to find out. Got so much popping off, but in a really meaningful, this is what we do, is we try to really engage in systemic, sustainable change and meaningful projects. So we don't just speak it, we actually help create it and move it forward. So anyway, Stephen.
Yeah, no, those are some awesome services provided by Women of Color in Cannabis. That's awesome.
Right. They got Canna sessions. It's just an incredible resource. And I don't know, when I first started in the cannabis industry at a vertical medical dispensary about 6 years ago, it was a lot to take in. I wish that this was available because it would have helped me know about safe space and anti-retaliation and all the real talk of stuff that's not really talked about when you're so excited to be in the space. But there's a lot of stuff for, as a workforce, to know our rights, understand how to move in the space, and know that it's a jumping off point to the next. And there's a lot of transferable skills. Most importantly, there's a lot of transferable skills from other industry that you could absolutely apply in this industry. So, but thank you. I just wanted to share that. So, Stephen, let's take this away with Stanley.
Sure. Yeah, let's get right back to our guest here again. We have Stanley Atkins II coming in hot from Georgia.
Atlanta.
Coming in live and hot from Georgia. And we're discussing, cannabis and other wellness and healing methods that others can benefit from. So let me see here. That one there, Ann?
No.
Yeah, I didn't see that before.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, we talked about the VA in the previous question, but I want to stay on topic because there's so much misunderstanding of policy, and we hear different things. But currently the VA website, if you go to www.publichealth.va.gov/marijuana.asps, it states veterans will not be denied VA benefits because of marijuana use. And the latest VA directive, which is VHA Directive 1315, states that veterans must not be denied Veterans Health Administration services solely because they are participating in a state-approved marijuana program. Yet the number one reason that I hear that veterans do not discuss it with their VA doctors is that they don't trust them and they're afraid they're going to lose benefits. If there are any at all, what are some steps we can have happen to have veterans gaining more trust into the VA? I know that's a tough one, VA, Stanley, and like everyone is getting, there's people getting paid to try to figure this out. And then there's all of us that, we've got skin in the game. We're trying to figure it out. What are some things that you think that could work?
I think it's going to have to start with first transparency. One, as service members and service-connected disability, we're already sketchy. You're already kind of hesitant to anything they tell you at the VA. There needs to be national programming. I feel that with each state coming online separately, each state has their own medical or recreational or adult use program. I'm finding out that the veterans and a lot of the Latino communities are the last groups to get any type of programming or education. Wow. So if veterans are already the last ones to find out about it, they're going to be the last ones to trust in it. I feel that some of the nonprofits who are supporting veterans or the veteran-based nonprofits, some of the energy in their programming could be potentially refocused to connect with transitioning service members. So service members immediately coming out, if we could develop a standardized program that's included in like an onboard packaging when they're coming home or they're transitioning, the transitioning housing units and things of that nature, to say, hey guys, okay, you're coming back to this state. Once you reach out to your local VFW or VA, there needs to be an alternative wellness liaison. I think it should be, a program that starts off top, because when you're inside the system, this is not something that many of them are educated on. But I think in order for us to facilitate this, the VA is going to have an open door policy, an open dialogue policy, to where there's not going to be any type of judgment or type of cornering the conversation to not discuss this, because as you stated earlier, we're losing veterans each and every day. So I feel that there needs to be a more collaboration of efforts amongst veteran organizations, non-veteran organizations, and organizations that support veterans, because we could have the program going well in Massachusetts, but veterans in Kentucky may be suffering. Right. We may have veterans in Denver that are doing amazing, but what about the veterans in Alabama? So I think that is partially on us as veterans. If we see something that no one else is doing, maybe it's up to us to come up with some of that programming and try to push it.
That is an incredibly thoughtful and insightful idea. I haven't thought about that, of having like a liaison in the VA. I mean, if you want to talk to veterans, we talk about it all the time, and trying to get them together, you're better off trying to herd some cats, going to where they are is how you help them. And like you just said, the things that are left in the dark are the things that don't get fixed or talked about. So if we're not shining a light on those things, how are you going to get help? And how can you find out about those resources? And that's huge. And not only the VA, but I would like to see some more continuity with these the veteran service organizations. They have I'm pretty sure like all of the major ones are down in DC, supporting legislation for research on cannabis by the VA, or just outright allowing it for veterans. But then you go into like your local chapter or something, and you try to talk about it, and we don't talk about that here, and it's like, but that is your national priorities. I don't want to get into all the different acronym groups there are out there, but, each one of them are supporting legislatively cannabis for veterans through the VA, or at least researching it. But then if you try to put that into play in at your local post or chapter, wherever you're going, those aren't being discussed. So I'd really like to see, and again, that's what, if you're not going to the VA, the next place you're going to find veterans is in those chapters and posts and everything. So having that information there, getting that information out, it would be huge. And not every veteran's consuming information the same way. A lot of them aren't online, and some are, but everyone's looking at different stuff if they're online. So yeah, it would be huge to have some sort of services out there, like you're saying. And we need a smoother handoff from military service to civilian life. Mine was totally different when I got hurt, because I was just on my own and literally had to carry with me all of my paperwork, because I had it all and I had to give it to the VA. Fortunately, that doesn't happen anymore, but it's still important. Like make copies of everything and make triple copies of everything. That was something I learned in my journey.
Yeah, I think that also ties into some of the transitioning services, because you have veterans that went into the military. After they got in, once you signed the dotted line, with the exception of doing your actual physical job, whatever that may be, they took care of most things for you. You didn't have to worry about housing and bills and things of that nature. So a lot of these veterans, when they do get out, they have been conditioned by the military that, hey, I just go to personnel for this. I go to admin for this. And now you are your own admin. And that is why I really push to advocate for advocates as well. Because as a veteran, it is up to us to continue to push throughout the community. Here in Georgia, we've been really pushing to strengthen the veteran presence in our cannabis community. It's going to be up to us. So that I'm with Minorities for Medical Marijuana. They're launching a veteran initiative, but also my work with the Georgia Medical Cannabis Society. I've been appointed as a board member for the Georgia MCS, which is the Medical Cannabis Society for Patients. And I'm actually developing programming right now specifically designed for our region and how to best access our veterans. Because as you said, not all veterans absorb or digest information the same. So really being cognizant and being intentional with the programming. And as Ann stated, aligning yourself with organizations that actually facilitate the work that they project that they're going to do.
Yep, absolutely. Can't agree more.
Well, you're just like dropping so much wonderful suggestions. And I just also for those who don't know, Stephen and I, along with our colleague, Dr. Miriam McNabb and her organization, came together and created a veterans health and medical cannabis study. And through that experience, by the way, you can go to cannabisadvancementseries.org to find out more information about that project and the study and the research results that are on that site. But I just want to say, going through that process, it was not easy to try to find veterans who would take a fully anonymous 100 question survey. And I feel like it was a matter of actually those who have access to veterans and those who not influence, but someone that has an established relationship, a community of veterans, that where those who are not online and they're not really like into this scene, that us, by being informed and being allies for wellness and for veterans at large. And it's not just veteran individuals, but it's their family and then their friends and then all the communities that support them. It's just this super collective approach of engaging veterans specifically. So I just want to plant the seed. It was a challenge, but one that we were up for, and we're successfully to get about 565 out of, I think, 46 states.
48 states plus DC and Puerto Rico.
Woo!
Yeah, so we almost got them all.
Almost.
But in talking about that though, and there's so many stats and numbers that stand out to me, but what stood out to me most, and I think this is the most important thing, that every person is looking for. 92% of the 554 people that filled out the survey said they are now experiencing a greater quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what we're all aiming for, our quality of life and your ability to enjoy things, to be present, to be mindful.
Mm-hmm. That's
living. And for, I've been on the other end of that where it was just anger, frustration, wanting not to be able to breathe, and just it wasn't just cannabis, but that whole journey, like that causing, me to get out of my comfort zone and start doing things differently, provided me with a different life. And that's really the motivation for everything is if you want change, then change. You have to be the change.
Choice, that choice of change, Stanley.
Right. Absolutely. And no one can make it for you. Just like with recovery, no one's going to recover for you. You have to do that. You have to want that for you, not for your spouse, not for your kids, but to be able to be a better you for those things.
Absolutely, Stephen. That's strong words. And something I like to tell people, like that based on my personal experience. When I was on the pharmaceuticals, I was surviving as a disabled veteran. But now with the usage of medical cannabis, I feel like I'm living as a disabled veteran. There's a big difference between living and surviving.
Right.
And for anyone who may see this video, whether you're a veteran or non-veteran, please know that we all want to make changes in our personality, in our life, in our health, and even with our family. And sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves to make such vast adjustments that we actually never even improve. So if you're watching this, your goal, and if you decide to implement medical cannabis in your healthcare, your goal should be to be 1% better every day. How can I get 1% better every day? No matter what we did today, from the most mundane tasks to the most monumental tasks, we can do them all 1% better tomorrow. So if you do that, that adds up over time.
Right. And there's days that you're going to take a step backwards, and that's okay too. Relapsing, not having good days, that's fine. That is part of life. No one is batting 1,000 on good days, but you got to focus on the good ones and know that those bad ones are there. I mean, look at Reggie Jackson, he's one of the top home run hitters with 14. He's 14th on the list with all-time home runs. He also leads the majors in strikeouts, but if he had focused on that, he would have never made the list of the top home run hitters. So, you can accept the negative and realize it's there, but focus on the positives. And when you're feeling negative, know that you can change that feeling around by going and doing something positive.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to just take a moment, and I know we're coming up to the end of the show here, but we just want to take a moment, just again, thank you for joining. We know you could be anywhere doing anything else, but we're psyched that you are here enjoying this conversation. Hopefully, we hope that you're learning something, taking this home, taking it to the dinner table, taking it to your community, taking it to your legislative, taking it to the voting ballot box. Just please make sure that you share this. If you find value of this conversation, please consider sharing this within your network, especially if they're of military community and their family, so that they can learn more about wellness, cannabis, and other natural options that they can feel better on. So I'm psyched. Stephen, we got one last question.
And it ties in good with being the change. I want to know, Stanley, what are some actions that we, the veteran community, and those that support veterans, can take to help our brothers and sisters living in states that aren't yet where we're at yet? They don't have cannabis legalization. What can we do to help them get there?
First is see where they are. It's hard to see where we want to take them without knowing where they are. Once we find where they are, is there legislation on the table? Is there legislation that's being drafted? If there's not, helping them to even increase the amount of dialogue around the conversation, because before it becomes a law, it was a conversation. So being proactive in the dialogue versus reactive. So instead of waiting for the conversation, sometimes we have to be the leaders of those conversations. And whether it's via in person or online, educate yourself on what you want. So if they say, Stephen, you don't have a legal program, but what would it look like to you? Educate yourself on what a medical program should look like to you, and cross-reference that with other states surrounding you and other states that that may be legal.
Right. Yeah. There's no need to reinvent the wheel here. There's, for myself, I'm still working to, grow our program here, and I'm still presenting pieces of legislation at my state house to improve the program overall, both medical and adult use. And really, the first step is doing some research, looking at what's out there, and seeing, the likelihood of you being able to work with others and bring that to where you are, but also get to know your your elected officials in your state. Everything, all bills, you can present some information and data and your story to your legislators and work with them to craft bills and push to get those passed. And it becomes almost like another mission, and it may not go successfully the first time. I didn't get my bill put through the first time, but I'm doing it again. And part of that is I'm learning hardly any bill gets pushed through on the first time, and that's fine. There's few people that hop up on a bike and are just winning the Tour de France on their first try. So, it, again, realizing negatives come and things don't go your way, but every failure, is an opportunity to learn and grow. Like we said, there's nobody perfect. And like you're saying too, knowing where you're coming from, a lot of people not in the military, you're not going to hit your target if no one tells you where you're going to be shooting it from. For me in artillery, that was the thing. If we don't have the right coordinates and know where we are, we're going to fail. The mission will fail. But just Stanley, I'm so happy to have you on this show. I want to have you back again.
Anytime.
I want to be able to help people down in Georgia. I know Massachusetts, well, we're not too different in some things, but just being able to help, the BIPOC community as well. And because, those are the communities that have suffered the most. And it still bothers me every day, knowing that the disparity and people locked up for it as well. And we got to get those people out of jail as well.
Well, we're going to keep fighting for those people. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've been a part of 3 successful decriminalization ordinances.
Yes.
And I'm now pushing to decriminalize my hometown of Griffin, Georgia. It is going to be the most difficult decrim I've ever done. And it is like programs like this that we reach out to other states when we have the virtual town halls, so that our elected officials can talk to people from a legal state, from an adult use state. Because one thing, I got arrested 30 days to the day from coming home from deployment for 3 grams. And when I asked him, I was like, "You're going to arrest me for this?" He was like, "Watch me." Even if we could, decriminalization ordinance help veterans more than people know, because you have veterans that may be a little timid when they come home. And if they know that they're going to get caught with it, they're going to jail. And that's only going to increase the mental trauma, the psychological stress. So decrim is actually, we're going to propose it as a harm reduction ordinance, because it actually reduces the harm on our entire society, from teenagers to elderly to persons of color to our military veterans. So I'm going to keep fighting the good fight here for myself and everyone else.
Wait, well, I'm fully vaccinated, so if you need any backup, I'll fly down there. And
I just got my second shot yesterday. So yeah, my arm's a little sore. I just got my second shot yesterday.
Well, Stanley, you have allies here, and we're happy to support and educate and inform. And when you're talking to legislators, they do like data, they do like facts. So as far as when it comes to not so much the decrim and expungement data yet, but if you are someone who's looking to inform and educate your local legislators at your local town or at a state level, you may feel free to use the research that can be found on cannabisadvancementseries.org, specifically around veterans and their relationship with cannabis. And hopefully that can give a point of reference, because legislators do like data points. Just as a word to the wise, bring the numbers, bring the data, share it from other comparable communities that make sense. So just a little gem there. But Stanley, you do have an ally here. Stephen and I are very aware. We're very Caucasian, but we're very happy to use our privilege and support and like just put an end to this nonsense. And you're right, it's an intergenerational thing that ends up going down over and over and over again. It's about time it ends. So with that being said, let's, Stanley, thank you so much for being here. Again, if you can just share with our listeners and viewers how they can get in touch with you again.
Yes, my direct email is director@CanniMedic.org, and that is CanniMedic.org. We're on all social media platforms. You can find me on my name, Stanley Atkins II, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram as the CanniMedic, and look for CanniMedic.org to be relaunched soon for all your medical cannabis updates. And thank you all for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to connect with Joint Venture & Co. Thank you all again.
Woo.
Brother, thank you, Stanley. Just amazing. And being able to work, alongside you and, the same mission we're on, it's beautiful. This is exactly, this is healing. So thank you.
Thank you as well.
Well said. So for everyone, thank you all for tuning in, listening, watching, sharing, liking, commenting. We so appreciate you. For information about us, you can find us at jointvco.com. We're on every platform. Feel free to reach out at any time. And we are here for you to explore what wellness means to you. Yes, with the plant, but other mind, body, and spirit or soul practices as well. So thanks for joining. And Stephen, you have a last little statement about our resource, about the resource.
Which resource are we talking about here? I'm sorry. I'm lost.
Just to reiterate the crisis hotline.
Oh, yes. Again, just please reach out to these numbers, the crisis hotline number. It's the same for both, actually. It's 1-800-273-8255 or 1-800-273-TALK and press 1. You can also just send a text to 838255. There are resources out there. They are confidential. They are available 24/7. And these are people that are dedicated to helping us, helping me, helping you, helping everyone, because you matter and we want you to choose life every time.
All right. Well, thank you, Pro Cannabis Media, for welcoming us and the team as well. And a shout out to Leah for helping us produce this and post-produce it and post-distribute it. So for now, good night, but we'll see you next month on Wednesday in May, your first Wednesday in May. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Adeus.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Muito obrigada. Bye.
Hello, and thank you again for tuning into the Joint Venture & Co. show. We would like to remind everyone that they are not alone, and there are resources available for you or someone you know who is in crisis. Below are both the Veteran Crisis Hotline number and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Jot them down, take a screenshot, and share it with your friends. It's confidential, available 24/7, and can connect you with people who care and want to help you get through these tough times. You matter, and please never give up.